Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation. In this video, we are going to look at standard deviation. The question we are tackling reads, the deviations from the mean of a set of data are given as shown. Find the value of x, hence find the standard deviation of the data given that x is positive. Well, the question requires us to find the value of x, and we are given the deviations from the actual mean. The deviations are given as shown. Before we continue, we'll have to recall that the sum of deviations from actual mean is always 0. Now it is from this concept that we're going to form an equation where we'll be able to get the value of x. Well, we are going to add these deviations and equate them to 0. That is, we'll have the deviations added and then we have that equated to 0. Now this equation here can be simplified further. So let's begin with x squared. X squared will be added to x, and then we have these constant terms, -4, -1, 1 and -2 combined to give us -6, and that is equated to 0. This further can simplify as x squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Remember, the positive and negative here multiply to give negative. At this point, we have a quadratic equation to solve, and I want us to apply the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula states x is equal to that, where a, b, and c are constants in the quadratic equation. So a is the coefficient of x squared, which here a is 1. B is the coefficient of x, which b is +1. And then c is the constant term, -6. Well, we are going to do our substitution in this quadratic formula, and we'll proceed as follows. So at this point, we'll have b, and b is +1, so we substitute. At this point, we have b squared, and b is 1 again. Here we have -4a, a here is 1, c is -6. We substitute down here, we have twice a is 1. Well, let's focus on the values under the root sign. 1 squared is 1, and then we'll have the negative multiplying by negative to give us positive, and then we'll have 4 times 1 times 6 is 24. So we'll have 1 plus 24, which is 25. And therefore, that gives us x as -1 plus or minus the square root of 25. Down here, we had 2 times 1, which is just 2. So from here, we can simplify further as x is equal to -1 plus or minus 5 all over 2. Remember, root 25 is 5. And then from here, we are going to get the values of x as follows. The first value we obtain by addition, so we add -1 to +5, and that gives us 4. 4 divided by 2 should give us 2. So the first value of x is 2. Then the next value we obtain by subtraction, so we'll have -1 minus 5, and that gives us -6. -6 divided by 2 should be -3. So x is -3. And that is the value of x as desired. Next, remember we were to find the value of x and hence find the standard deviation of the data given that x is positive. Previously, we saw that the values of x are x is +2 and x is -3. But the condition we're required to deal with here is that x is positive. So we consider the positive value of x. That is, for x being positive, we have x as 2. So we're going to use the value 2 to proceed on to determine the standard deviation as desired. Well, given that x is 2, we're going to substitute it here in the deviations so that we'll have the deviations as -4, -1, and then in place of x we have 2, so that we have 2 squared, and then we'll also have 1, then x is 2 again, and then finally we have -2. Now this finally simplifies so that we have the set of deviations. So we have -4, -1, 4, 1, 2, and -2. Remember, 2 squared is 4. Now from here, we can now continue to get the standard deviation. Remember, the formula for standard deviation S is given as the square root of the deviations all over the number of items. So n here is the number of items, of which for our case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we are going to begin by determination of the summation of the deviations squared. We are going to square these deviations and add them in terms. We proceed as follows. Summation of the deviation squared is negative 4 squared plus negative 1 squared plus 4 squared plus 1 squared plus 2 squared plus negative 2 squared. This simplifies as 16 plus 1 plus 16 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4. And finally, that gives us 42. Well, we are going to substitute this in the formula for standard deviation. Remember, we've already obtained summation of d squared as 42, and we also noted that n is 6. So doing our substitution, we have standard deviation as 42 over 6. And this gives us root 7. Remember, 42 divided by 6 is 7. Well, we can as well decide to have this in decimals, and that is 2.626. And from here, you can either leave our answer as root 7 or as 2.626. And that finally marks the end of the solution to our problem. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.